Now then, people, welcome back to the Just Your Football Show, and it's time for an emergency pod, of course. But before we actually jump into the emergency pod, I'm sure you all will be aware of Spanish journalist Juan Martinez, who's been setting the cat amongst the pigeons today, just discussing the potential arrival of Sean Dyche. So what I wanted to do, I reached out to Juan to have a discussion with him, really, and to find out, where this news has come from, how valid it is, I guess. So without further ado, we're going to welcome him. But before we do, please smash a like, subscribe to the channel, and of course, get your comments in. And let's get into it, folks.
I don't think I do it.
Arsenal started like a house on fire.
Signing number 2 for this new era.
It's Judgment Day, people.
Yeah! What did your boy tell you? It was never in doubt. Never in doubt. Don't believe in any luck, I believe I'm self-made, yeah. So, Juan, talk to us.
Hello.
Hi, how are you, Juan? All good?
Yeah, I'm doing very good, thank you.
Good.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing really great. Thank you for giving up your evening.
Thank you for having me. I can't wait to talk to you about the footballs and the transfer news.
Okay, thank you for that, bro. Obviously, the news broke today that Sean Dyche has been linked with the move to Leeds United. Can you give us some I guess, a bit of an update as to where that news has come from?
Yes, so I know a bit about Leeds, and I do the transfer news on Leeds United. I hear that Otta has a very unusual relationship with Dyche. You know, he is fascinated by how he sets his teams up, how he has everyone playing, and he likes it. And if things go wrong with Marsch, then Dyche will be 100% the next.
The next manager, yeah?
Yes, next manager, 100%.
Okay, cool. And I noticed you mentioned how, Leeds United are potentially looking at a return for Chris Wood as well, obviously looking to play Dyche ball, a bit of Brexit ball, as it's called. How?
Well, I have good friends who Spanish journalists for Newcastle, and he says that Chris Wood and Dyche on the phone right now, waiting for the move. So if Dyche is next manager, which looks very likely, he will be there.
Okay, cool. And obviously Sean Dyche is on Monday Night Football tonight as well. So normally when we see that, that's normally a big signal that the move's going to happen.
Yes, well, tonight, if you saw the news tonight, he was talking about how he wants to go back into management, and this is his chance.
Yeah, no, exactly. And do you think Sean Dyche would go down well with the Leeds United fan base?
I don't know much about the Leeds fans. I can't comment on that because I don't really know. So, but I feel how he sets his teams up, they will play for 100% the badge, and it will work. They will like him.
Good. Well, Juan, thank you very much for joining us this evening.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be on here because I don't speak to many people. So, very good. Thank you very much, and I wish you well. Thank you.
Thank you, Juan. Thank you very much. Exclusive there on the Just Your Football Show. Great stuff. But listen, let's get back to normal service. We are, of course, here on a bit of an emergency pod, and what I wanted to do, folks, was get together loads of different Leeds United fans who I consider to have different opinions to mine. Some that are a little bit more relaxed than, say, when the midweek fix is on and we're all going a little bit wild. So what I decided to do is bring in Rocco from the Leeds That podcast. Rocco, how are you? All right?
I'm doing well, mate. Yeah, how are you?
Yeah, good. What do you think to the Dyche news, mate?
I think it pretty much sums up how terribly the board have acted and how far they've got things wrong in the past 6 to 9 months and probably longer, I guess. To go from Bielsa to Dyche, it just says it all. Fair enough. He might be our best bet, and we need something drastic, I think, now. But it's just mad. How are we here talking about Dyche like Bielsa taught us nothing? Like,
Rocco, what? I genuinely never mind. Right, I'll bring in the next one. I'll bring in the next guest. We will have a chat. So Rocco is a Bielsa stan, much like myself, right? He's wrote a book about Bielsa, so that's what we brought him in for. I brought in Luke from the Ought to Know Better podcast as well, who, if I'm being honest, has been quite a big supporter of Jesse and over the last few weeks. I've seen his tweets and I've been like looking at my phone going, So I wanted to get a difference of opinion. And we've got Max as well from Leeds lately, of course, because Max is just a classic guy. He just chills out and he sees things and goes through. So without further ado, let's get into tonight's show. Now, on the actual title, I put Jesse in, Jesse out. So before we begin, I just want to canvass the opinion of the guests. So, Max, Jesse in or out?
It's hard to put it as simply as in or out, isn't it? But for the sake of this point, I'm going to say in, and obviously I'll get a chance to explain why later on. Wow,
I wasn't expecting that, brother. Luke?
I mean, you're quite right in what you said. I've been a firm believer in Jesse Marsch, and we've seen parts of that. I mean, for the purpose of this question earlier doors, I'm going to say Jesse out, but I'm also going to say Jesse in as well, and I'll tell you why. I think we'll probably come on to it, but yeah, Jesse out as we start.
Okay. And Rocco, what about yourself?
No, I think it's clear. Jesse out.
Yeah. That's where my head's at. Some will tell you it's been at Jesse out ever since he walked through the door. That's what people tell me. I've had it in from him from day one. But no, listen, I never want a manager to not do well, because what that means is that my football club's not doing well, and therefore when you're languishing at the bottom, no one would ever want that. I want every man that manages this football club to be a success. But it has gone terribly wrong. So, sorry, my dog's here. I'll have to put him out in a second. I want it to be on my lap. But Rocco, where do you believe it has gone wrong? What are the major feelings? Obviously, we'll have a chance to chat about the board as well. But if we just focus solely on Jesse initially, where do you think it's gone wrong with Jesse?
I think it's clearly just the tactics. Not just the tactics, but the tactics are the main problem. They didn't work for Man United. I mean, I found it baffling when he was appointed that they've gone for a guy who's a disciple of Ralph Rangnick, when Ralph Rangnick at that very time was having an absolute disaster at Man U with £1 billion worth of players. All right, the players are crap. I don't rate them, but still, he couldn't get a tune out of them. And of course, Jesse's not proven. In his one big job, he didn't do well. The tactics just haven't ever worked. I don't think they worked last season. I think we were incredibly fortunate. I wanted to give him the benefit of the doubt and start afresh, and he did. Credit to him, he did get us over the line. The squad had demoralised, and put on 1.5 big performances: Brighton second half, and then Brentford. And this season started well, and but it's just been quite difficult to be positive, because I don't know. I can always just see the flaws in it. In the last few weeks, it's just all caved in, and it's too much now. And he looks a beaten man as much as the players, and it's horrible to see. I like the guy. Like, I really, really wish he'd have done well, and it annoys me that people have this opinion that if you don't rate him, that for some reason you didn't want him to succeed. It's nonsense. Everyone, like you said, everyone wants him to succeed.
Yeah, no, exactly. This is my point as well, because, naturally, people tell me I need to have counselling and that, but, or for Bielsa and I need to have like relationship counselling and stuff. But, obviously I was disappointed in the way that he went, but ultimately those that say, you know, you've had it in from all this sort of stuff, I never quite understand that, because like's been said, you know, that would mean that, you know, your club is doing rubbish, and I don't want that, because it depresses me. Luke, what about yourself? Where's it gone wrong? Because I know you said you were out at the minute. Explain that to me. Out in it.
Yeah. So my feeling is that we probably would have gone down last season had Jesse Marsch not come in. I truly believe that. I think we were demoralised. We weren't playing well. We'd gone through a tough patch. We'd had some tough games, and we had some favourable games coming up. So we'll never actually know the answer to that. So, you know, we stayed up, and Jesse Marsch was here. So going into the new season, I looked into his tactics, looked into his shapes, and I could see the similarities to Bielsa, and I could see how the transition could have worked well. And we did see flashes of that. I mean, in fact, even still, we see flashes of that, but we don't see it consistently. And I truly believe that squad should be performing better than what we are. It's all good and well saying that we're performing well, but not getting results. But that'll only wash so many games. You know, out the last 8, 7 of those fixtures you look at on the calendar and think they're winnable games. Arsenal, arguably, probably should have won that one, but that was probably the only one out of the last 8 that we really probably shouldn't have been losing, definitely before we started. But winning definitely before we started. So yeah, I mean, 2 points from those 8 games just isn't good enough, mate. And that's where I'm at, and something's got to give.
Yeah, definitely. 2 points from 24, from a possible 24. No wins in 9. Max, really, this is why I wanted to get different opinions on. Max, you're Jesse in. I think you're crazy. Explain to me why.
I almost think I completely understand where everybody else is coming from, right? I'm not saying that he's done really great, because you can see from the results that he hasn't. I understand that there's all the flaws, everything surrounding it. I think sometimes his team selection to me is crazy. Somerville starting against Leicester. To that point, Somerville had never done anything to me in the first team worthy of a start. So he dropped Harrison, who'd been good in the Arsenal game. All these things, right? And it comes to team selection. I also feel like he makes bad substitutions sometimes. He also brings on players against, you know, when we were talking about with the Southampton game, when the game starts to turn, he sometimes leaves it too late to bring on his substitutes, and they're not the right ones. He's got a lot of flaws, right? But to me, who is out there that is going to come in and do a better job than, obviously, he's not doing a good job at the moment. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But who is going to come in there, suit the style of the club? Because it's not just the manager that has a certain style. It's the powers that be at the club want to play attacking football. They want to play pressing football. And so obviously the Sean Dyche thing is a bit of a joke, but we're not going to be able to just bring in a defensive coach, because our players are going to completely shit the bed and not know what to do. Yeah. In that sense, it was like when Everton brought in Benitez. Before that, they tried to play attacking football. Then they brought in a defensive manager, and they were all at 6s and 7s. So he's also got a long contract which we've got to think about as well. When we had Bielsa, it was year to year. So sacking him, you'd only have to pay him to the end of the year. If we're supposedly got financial constraints anyway in terms of signing players, can we afford to sack a manager with a 5-year contract? And who do we bring in? So to me, if we give him till the World Cup, after the World Cup, I feel like more managers could potentially be available from national sides. There could be a little bit more churn in that period where nobody's playing club football, and other managers could come available. So to me, I just want to see him get until the World Cup, and at least he then has the chance to pick up a few more points, because I don't feel like we're totally in trouble until after the World Cup.
I think, right to respond. I think, I don't mean this in like a personal way, because you know I love you, but I mean more like, I feel like that's a little bit deluded. And what I mean by that is, I don't see how Jesse gets points between now and the World Cup. Like, I don't see how, I mean, but then, you know what? Do you know what as well? Sorry though, just to further add, like, I know it's at Anfield and I know it was at the Forest ground, but it's almost made this fixture even bigger because Forest got a result against Liverpool. So it's almost like, well, you know, if they were still in their scintillating form from last season, you could argue and go, it's Liverpool, you're never getting a result there. But they're really on the win, and I still don't fancy us to even trouble them. I don't fancy us to even trouble them. I mean, Bournemouth, I think we'll get beat there as well. I think the one saving grace for me was that we conceded the joint fewest league goals at home. We had a decent home record, and then we go and let 3 in.
Yeah.
It really frustrating. I think, you know what's, when you actually strip it back, the way Jesse, this is what I don't like as well, and people will disagree with me. Like, when he came out before and said, I like watching Brentford because they have the best set pieces in Europe. So my man sat there watching set piece videos of Brentford. He even mentioned long throws. He said, I really like their long throwing routines, which for me as a Bielsa fan, and he's changed my opinion on football, I'm like, wow, this is tedious. And then at the weekend, we concede from 3 set pieces. So even what's in his wheelhouse, that's his bag. Yeah, set pieces. They have full training sessions on it. And we concede from 3 set pieces. So even what he's supposed to be good at, he's not good at. Do you see what I'm saying? I don't know if anyone else agrees. Does anyone has a right? Go on, Max.
I totally agree with what you're saying. And like I said, I'm not delusional to the point where I can't see that it's got so many flaws.
Yeah.
But like even to team selection, I think he went with Ayling because he thought that he was gonna maybe be more of an attacking threat. But then Rasmus, I don't think Mitrovic scores that header. I think Rasmus is so much more aggressive, and I think he clears that one, and then we're not on the back foot after going ahead. But what you said about you can't see us getting any points at all, I just want to take us back to just before the Arsenal game. And before that game, we were saying, we've been absolutely terrible. We can't score for Toffee. We can't do anything. It was just after the Palace game, wasn't it? And then we played like that against Arsenal. And you were so much more upbeat on the midweek fix.
Naturally.
Because we played so well. And to me, that's the one saving grace is that against Chelsea and against Arsenal, we've shown that under Jesse Marsch, we are capable of winning big games. It's just that he needs to find some sort of consistency and fast, because I won't be Jesse in for much longer if he continues to do this. But all those players have been bought for him. And so
that's the key, isn't it? Consistency. I mean, I just got, and that's part of the reason why I'm almost still Jesse in, because you've got to look at what replacements are realistically going to come, Joe. You know, and Max, I'm going to completely agree with you here. I don't want us to make a rash decision, because we have seen flashes of brilliance and where we can play well. Chelsea, Arsenal second half, even Brentford, we played well in parts, apart from stupid mistakes and a couple of other performances. So unless you can give me a definitive answer on who is going to come in and who is going to do a better job with that crop of players in a particular style of football that the board will want to see, because we're not going to shut up shop. Sean Dyche is never, ever going to happen, no matter what. That's just never going to happen.
You don't believe Juan then, no?
Hey, I tell you what, he's good. He's good. But yeah, that's what's almost keeping me a little bit of hope and a little bit of Jesse in is give me a replacement. Tell me who's going to be better. Tell me how they're going to be better, because at the moment, there's not a lot of people. Nobody's good. Is it? What's the lad from QPR was mentioned to me earlier? Is it
Michael Field? But he turned Wolves down, didn't he?
People like that are not going to leave a job where they're being successful to come and manage a club that's struggling in the Premier League. Simple.
I agree with you on that respect. I mean, he's turned down Wolves, and people won't want to hear this, but in terms of an attractive prospect, Wolves, in terms of the personnel they've got at that football club, for me, are a more attractive prospect to an up-and-coming manager than Leeds United currently, I think. People will say I'm wrong, but it is what it is. Rocco, are you surprised to hear the lads be like quite, not defensive, but say, well, you know, let's wait it out kind of thing?
Yeah, I am, to be honest, because, you know, you say who's going to do better, but like, who could do worse, really? You know, you look at the points that we've got in recent weeks, just the way we're so easy to play against. You know, the Leicester game, they didn't have to do anything to beat us, anything at all. They didn't even have to have one shot on goal. Crystal Palace was the same. And I know I'm picking out the two worst games, but there's just nothing there for me. And like I say, I've tried to give him the benefit of the doubt, but I think he's just a bit of an idiot, to be honest. Like some of the stuff that he's done, I don't mean to be harsh to him, but like, you know, like when he on his first press conference, for example, and this is where alarm bells started ringing for me. He's in one breath he said, "Oh, I'm a fighter, I never give up," and then about 2 minutes later he said, "Oh yeah, I knew from very early on it was not going to work out at Leipzig." Like, who says that? It's just ludicrous. And then, you know, at the end of last season, chopping and changing, rolling the dice, putting bait in against Chelsea, which, you know, it was ludicrous. But to be fair, then he put Greenwood in, which I thought was ludicrous against Brentford, and that worked. So, you know, fair at that point. But I just think there's been so many times, and then there's the Firpo thing, trusting Firpo and still gassing him up, and, you know, having these two fullbacks where fullbacks are so important to our system, and neither of them can attack or pretty much defend. You know, these are the guys that he wants. You know, Firpo's the only left back he needs, and Christensen is the guy that he has trained before he knows him inside and out. And from what we've seen, Jesse Marsch was completely wrong to think that Christensen would do it in the Premier League. He might come good.
We've lost
Rocco.
Looks like we've lost Rocco, but I think he said he was just about to say he might come good. Rocco, big shout out to Rocco, by the way. He was actually working away, and he's jumped on live to join us. He's frozen there in an unfortunate moment as well. Alison says, over 500 in the chat. Please smash the like. Yes, please do like the video as well, please. Over 500 of you here. Continue to like the video. What I am going to do when I ask the next question as well is put the lads' channels in the description as well, because I want you to go on over and check their YouTube channels out as well. Hopefully Rocco will be back in a sec. What I will do is just remove him there slightly so he's not like that. What were you saying?
I was just going to say, I could just respond to what he was saying a little bit there. I've just thought that the way when he came in last season, he had the players that he had, and he didn't have any signings or anything, and so he didn't play in his full system. He didn't play totally the way he wanted to play, did he? So he sort of had to tone it down a little bit and just have the essentials, and it kept us up. I feel like this season, because he didn't get all of the transfers that he wanted, he should have still be a little bit cautious to try and play his full system. I feel like his system can work if we have the personnel to do it. And players like Tyler Adams, Rocker, Aronson, basically our midfield is good enough in terms of, like, I think they're brilliant, some of the players that we've signed.
Yeah.
But the fact that our defence, we don't have an attacking left back still, so I feel like we should try to play a little bit more defensively and maybe play on the break a little bit more and still use those transition moments where the ball's turned over to counter-attack. But maybe be a bit more cautious with our defence and not leave so many gaps. Try and be a little bit tighter at the back. Like, he doesn't have this perfect personnel to play his system. And his system also relies on people being clinical up front, because he wants to win the ball and then counter-attack and score as quickly as possible. But we win the ball, counter-attack, and then miss. Like, so honestly...
Put ourselves under pressure.
Yeah.
We put ourselves under pressure, don't we?
We have sustained periods of possession and attacking football where we have chances. We don't put any of them away, and then 10 minutes later, the opposition score, and it happens week in, week out. So, like, we don't have the clinical nature to be playing so open all the time, because we just get punished.
Would you say, Max, we played around about 60% of his style last season in comparison to sort of probably 90-95 of his style at the minute?
Yeah, because last season he went zonal, but then he tried to keep it tight at the back.
Yeah,
and then this season he's tried to implement his style fully, I think. But I just don't think we have the personnel to do it. So
I agree with that.
Like, he should almost still be being a little bit cautious and almost sacrificing a little bit of his all-out philosophy to think, be realistic and say, these are the players we've got. Some of them are not good enough to play in that style, and the fact that we've had to play now, Straucher's done an okay job defensively, but going forward, we can't blame him. But he's a centre back,
yeah,
and his system is relying on fullbacks for the width And Strout gives the ball away all the time in attacking areas because he's a centre half. He's used to sitting on the halfway line and stroking it from side to side and then maybe passing it into a holding midfielder. He's not used to trying to overlap wingers. And so I just feel like Marsch needed to be a little bit more realistic and pragmatic and think, right, we're playing a centre-back at left-back and other areas of the pitch as well where we've not had an out-and-out striker because Bamford's been injured. So I just feel like he needs to sort of be a little bit more realistic with the personnel that he's got. If he'd assigned a good striker and a left back, then he just started playing like this, then you know what I mean. But it's
so do you think? And look, I agree with you. Maybe another striker against Arsenal, we get the win. Yeah, we get the win. Are you saying with the striker in this team then? A clinical striker that we'd be much higher up the table. Do you think it's as easy as that?
I think we'd have definitely picked up some more points. Even if we'd have been conceding as many as we would have. I was cutting together my vlog from that Fulham game, and it was just like chance, all flying past the post over the bar, and I was like, I sort of couldn't remember that we'd had that many chances, but we just didn't put any of them away.
I seen a stat the other day as well. I seen a stat the other day on Bamford, and he missed the most expected XG big chances in the. I mean, he's only played sort of a handful of games. He's missed 8 or 9 chances. I mean, add to the weekend as well. That was before the weekend. That's if you took them away and he was clinical, we've probably got 10 more goals in us. Something similar. They're fine margins. I mean, one of the things I brought sort of to attention yesterday was there's only 2 teams in the bottom half that have scored more goals than us. I think we've scored 13 goals. Now, when the fuck did we score them? I don't remember scoring 13 goals.
That's a good point. It is a good point. What about you, Rocco? Do you think it's as easy as that? As in, we had someone up front. Say if we had Mitrovic, for example, and he was on the end of the Bamford chances that he's missed. Do you think it's as easy as just personnel?
Yes and no, really. Like I've got a bit of sympathy for the club in that, people say sign a striker, but sign a good striker that's going to get you 15, 20 goals isn't easy. Liverpool spent 70 million on that Nunez guy, and he looks like he looks no good. So I don't know, but and I do have sympathy with Jesse because I also don't think the squad are up to it really, unless it's just. Are they going back to their old ways pre-Bielsa, or is it just literally the confidence, or is it the tactics? I'm not quite sure, but Bamford had a fantastic season behind closed doors, and I don't want to take anything away from him. And he's improved as a player since the Championship, but he's not Harry Kane. The way people and especially Marsch has been talking about him while he's been out. So excited about getting Patrick back on the pitch, even like the Brentford game in the last day of the season, talking about getting 10 minutes out of him at the end. Like as if he's Lionel Messi, it's crazy. It is still Bamford. Like people have to remember that he was never a clinical striker, and he had a great season. And I want him to come good, and he might come good. But yeah, I think there's just I don't know. I think there's just problems everywhere. I'm feeling so bereft of any confidence now. So God knows how the players are feeling.
Yeah, it's rough at the minute. Why? I genuinely am surprised he's still in the job, right? At this moment in time, I'm surprised he's still in the job. Now, someone put this earlier, and this is where I think my head's at. Are the board in a position financially to sack him? And Max mentioned the length of his contract earlier.
Just on that quickly, Joe. I thought it was 3.5 years he signed for.
Yeah, I think it's 3. I thought it was 3.
It was half of last year.
Is people saying it's 5 now?
I thought it was 3.5. That's all.
Right, but
I'll be wrong.
Why? For me, why do you think he's not been sacked? Is it purely down to money, or is it the ego of our owners not allowing themselves to admit they got it wrong? Because we've seen them do it with players. They've persisted with Fairport left back and refused to give Jesse a left back. I think, look, the board are massively culpable, more so than Jesse. What really pisses me off is the fact that since the striker chart. Since the window, we found out Bamford only trained 6 times. We found out that Jesse had conversations with Bamford in pre-season to say that we're going to have to manage you. We're going to have to not have you training all the time. So the fact these conversations went on and the board still didn't get a striker and only got a striker because Rodrigo hurt his shoulder. And they got a kid who's not ready. You know, everyone keeps saying, play Willie. He plays for Italy. International football's not what it once was. Italy did not qualify for the Euros. I know that everyone, as Euro mad nation, they did not qualify. That's why all these kids were given a chance. Sorry, not for the Euros, for the World Cup. That's why they were given a chance. I'm not saying that he's a bad player, but there's a reason why he's not starting. Do you know what I mean? There's a reason why he's not in the squad. He's not even in the squad. But like, what pisses me off is clearly the board knew what was going on with Bamford. Jesse had conversations with him in pre-season to say, yeah, we're going to have to manage it. I jokingly say Ledley King 2.0, but that's what it's like. And they still didn't go out and get a striker. So I know that Jesse's not culpable. The board are more culpable than him. Yeah, for 100%. And it is really, really frustrating. But, you know, I've heard a lot of people say, why is Joffrey not being given a go? You know, why hasn't Joffrey, why don't we see Joffrey start, you know? What do you make, Luke, to his selections of late? Like, what I found mad is all the changes after the Arsenal game. I thought that was wild. And then to make changes again, like I was watching a video, I was watching Connor actually the other day, and he mentioned the fact that Rasmus's performances against Palace and against Arsenal, he kept Zaha and Martinelli quiet, and then he gets dropped. And then it's like, what does that then do for... I prefer really, that's just my opinion, because I like what he does going forward. But what does that do for Rasmus? Do you know what I mean? And Connor made a fantastic point.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, you're right. He's had 2 great performances, and then he drops him.
Yeah, I think just before we go on to the team, just the question you asked about why is he being sacked?
Yeah.
I think it lies a little bit more deeper. I think the joint ownership is absolutely crucifying us. I think the 49ers have got a much bigger say than what we think and know about. And I think that's potentially why there's not been a lot of money being spent. And there's 101 theories that we could go into about, you know, the sale of the club and everything like that. But yeah, I think it's the joint ownership is the honest reason that he's not been sacked yet, first of all. But in terms of Marsch and his team selection, Leicester, absolute mayhem. You know, Arsenal second half, absolutely dominated, top of the league, that were flying. You know, they'd won 8 out of 9 at the time, I think, we're absolutely flying. Cooper brought out. I mean, why not start if Cooper's not fit? Why not start him? Get a foothold in the game. Against Leicester. Not manage him by not bringing him on. And Christensen, you know, what must that do to somebody's confidence? You start at a club, you don't start great. You come out in the media and say, "I'm going to get better." You get better, and then you get dropped. Do you know what sort of? I mean, I think Jesse's a really good speaker, and I think he's a good motivator and things. But I think his actions are probably a lot less motivated than his actual talk. I think that's disruptive, and I think anybody who's played any sort of level of sport will understand that if you're playing well and you get dropped from a team, you automatically think you've done something wrong, no matter what the coach tells you, no matter what gets said. So yeah, questionable, and ultimately that does lie with Jesse Marsch.
Yeah, that does. You're right, and listen, I've called him tactically inept, and what I mean by that, and I know that might seem really, really harsh, but it is just my opinion. But what I don't understand is how, against Crystal Palace, for example, Vieira made 2 little tweaks in games. You know, I remember I seen it. You watched it on the game, man. I think he got the head injury, Ayew and Koch, I think it might have been. They're both on the deck. And in that time, he called over Eze, Elise and Zaha. And you could see him saying, over the top. Mm. And they did that. And then our manager had no answer for what was probably 50, 60 minutes worth of the game. And he did not change it. Like, for me, his only answer is personnel. It's like, you know, I listen a lot to All Stats That Way. They know much more about the game than me. But John on there said, I know that everyone likes their stuff, and that's fine. You know, we all like different things. But he said, like, looking back historically over Jesse, at his time at different clubs, whenever it starts to go wrong, what he does is changes personnel, then he tries to change formation. And it feels to me like it's throwing darts at a dartboard. Like I watched that game against Man United and Chelsea the other day, and I know we hate them, right? But Chelsea started so poorly. Then Graham Potter made a sub at 30 minutes, brought off Cucurella, and the game totally changed. And they ended up, it was not the best game, but it ended up 1-1. That for me is what a manager should be. We've seen it ourselves under the previous coach when Calvin got hooked, etc. I just don't have confidence that Jesse has that in his locker. I don't know if you agree, Rocco.
Yeah, I think he's shown that. Like you say, it is. He's rolling dice, throwing darts at a dartboard. We saw it at the end of last season. He was, went 3 at the back, didn't he? And then, he was just chopping and changing and hoping to land on something that would work. And I don't think that instills any confidence in the players. They can see what he's telling them. He's telling them that they're not doing well. So let's try this something different. And that's the thing about Bielsa. We'll go on about him. That's
I do, mate. Don't worry about it. I do it all the time.
but this is what I liked about the plan A better. He explained it. He explained why he did that, and it gave full belief. How is he expected to inspire the players to buy into a system if he's chopping and changing it? If he doesn't trust it himself, how are the players going to buy into it? So if you're chopping and changing, all your tactics and your personnel all the time, just on a whim almost, it just it does reduce your authority. And I think we're seeing that. And for people, we did look broke at the end of the Bielsa era. I completely agree that Spurs game was horrible, but if we looked broke then, we definitely look broke now. There's no two ways about it.
Yeah. Go on, Max.
Whilst I agree that obviously we don't look like we're doing well at the moment, and in these last couple of games, it's looked horrendous at times. Just looked like we've got no ideas whatsoever. I think it's easy to sort of forget how bad it was when we had that month under Bielsa, when it was just like 6-0, 7-1, like it was awful. And I don't feel like we're getting pumped as much.
Yeah, but Max, right? Let me quickly jump in on that. I hear what you're saying, but Bielsa in that period, right, got 7 points from 24, right? Marsch has got 2 from 24, having played probably 4 of the bottom 6. Bielsa played, say, 4 of the top 6. And also played with a squad that was massively depleted.
That's the point.
Drama making his debut against Martinelli and getting crucified for 45 minutes. Jesse's got a fully fit squad near enough.
Yeah, I do completely agree that we've been awful. There's no denying that. I'm not denying anything about that. It's just
I hear that.
When you see a new manager come in, I don't like to see managers get sacked. I hate the way the modern game is that a manager loses some games and they're sacked and they never get a chance to have their proper ideas put on a club. I just wish the board had given him a striker and a left back, because then I feel like you'll say that we could judge him now anyway, but I feel like we could have completely judged whether his system would have worked or wouldn't worked in the Premier League if he'd have had a proper striker in there, not somebody like Rodrigo who doesn't even know what his position is, just comes deep, and then you look up front and you're like, well, who's our striker? If he'd have had a proper out-and-out striker and a left-back in the transfer window, and then we were still playing like this, I'd have been so much more willing to say, yeah, well, he's got the players, he's gone. But to me, the reason why he's not gone is because it's not entirely his fault. It's
so do you think like the board are aware that they didn't give him a striker, are seeing Bamford missing all these chances, are going to say, do you know what?
They have to see that, otherwise they're blind, aren't they? Because imagine watching those chances of just missing chance upon chance in every game, and then they've got to look at that and go, well, do you know what? If we'd have given them a striker, and to me the most frustrating thing about the striker is it was like Charles de Ketelaere or no one, and then at the last minute it was Cody Gakpo or no one. But there are more than 2 attackers in Europe. There are more than 2 attackers in Europe. There's plenty of young, talented forwards in the Bundesliga, in the Spanish league. There is options out there that wouldn't have completely broken the bank. And if you've got somebody that's playing first team football regularly already, like they're not going to be that horrendous or that much to buy. So I don't know if it just been backed. And then the other thing is that individual mistakes. I keep saying this, but Mark Rocker just not looking up and losing the ball against Leicester. That's nothing to do with Jesse, is it? And Diego Llorente doing a Cruyff turn against Brentford and then just letting them score behind him and his other mistakes. There's nothing you can do about that.
Just a quick counter argument on that, and I might get pelters for it, right? Yes, there are individual errors.
A lot.
We've had so many, right, that this might sound mental, but are they not finding themselves in isolated scenarios where there isn't a pass available for them or anything like that due to the system? Like when or am I just totally off it? Like when Rocker's on his own, is there a pass for Rocker?
In certain situations, maybe, yeah. But for the most part, like that Rocker one, he could have, like the Rodrigo one, for example. What was that? He could have just laid it off to a person right next to him, and he just thought, you know what, this will go viral on Twitter. just whacked it, and everyone was just like, but Rocker, he could have just played it to whoever it was, Firpo. He could have just played it to the left to Firpo. He could have
Make the wonder he didn't pass it. Make the wonder he didn't pass it.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like, it is a professional. You got to trust whoever's out there, even if it is Firpo, and just play that. It's a 5-yard, 10-yard passing. Llorente against Brentford, he could have launched it long. There's always an option if you think, I'm going to lose it here. Just put it in the channel, head for Bamford or for Rodrigo, whoever's up front. Like, there's always an option to get rid of the ball, and our players just seem sometimes to just like completely lose concentration, and it's like that should not be happening to Premier League footballers. And so I can see why Jesse, when that happens on the touchline, is like, oh my God, I can't even get started into this game, especially the Leicester one. Like, we're 1-0 down for a mistake, and then he's like, right, so I've got to come back from 1-0 down, and obviously never did. It was terrible. It was terrible.
Let's not try.
We were shit against Leicester.
Yeah, we were. No, we weren't shit, but I'm just saying we're on the back foot instantly by making stupid mistakes. We don't even give ourselves a chance, is what I'm saying.
Do you know how it feels to me? It almost feels like this season we seem to, every chance an opposition gets to capitalise, they do. And every chance we get to capitalise, we fucking don't. And that's how it feels. It feels like, it just feels like we're not taking chances. And everybody who gets a sniff against us is just, I mean, I'm probably completely way off. I mean, you can probably find out from the XG from all stats or whoever, but that's it. That's just how it feels. It does feel to me that because the performances as a whole, apart from the last two and Palace potentially, weren't that bad, were they? I know we didn't pick many points up and things, but we haven't been truly awful up until.
I think we have, bro.
Do you really?
Maybe listen. No, I'm not enjoying it, mate. I haven't enjoyed it, to be honest. I can't lie. I can't sit here and lie, and I don't know. Look, against Chelsea, it was amazing, but. I can't really.
We've shown it in games, but not for the full game, which is the most frustrating thing. So what he's done is he's shown that it can work in the Premier League, this system, because we battered Southampton and we were 2-0 up. But what he's shown is that when a manager makes a change to try and counteract him, then it's like, what does he do then? And he's never done anything that's fixed that issue. The only time that it actually worked was against Wolves when he brought Click on in the first game of the season, and Click changed the game. And I thought,
but now ask yourself the question: what does he do every single fucking game?
Yeah, brings Click on.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. I think
it works once, it'll work again, and just keep doing it.
That's his major downfall, is that he's got no answers when an opposition manager changes something and the flow of the game starts to change. They start getting on top.
So in response to that, Max, he's not good enough. If he doesn't have answers, is he ever going to find them?
Maybe not. It's impossible to know, isn't it? It's impossible to know, though, isn't it?
Oh, man. Right.
No,
I want to move it on slightly, right? Because I'll tell you something that's been really grinding my goat over the last 24 to 48 hours. Is those that do back Jesse say it's nothing to do with him. And if a new manager comes in, it'll still be the same rubbish players. Which for me absolutely blows my mind because, and look, there was a guy earlier who said he's going to stop watching me until I get over Bielsa. I'm probably never going to, so don't bother coming back, fella, is what I would say to you. But I am going to speak about Bielsa again. We seen him take a rubbish squad that was languishing mid-table in the Championship to Championship winners and a Premier League team that finished 9th, right? For some reason, people have totally, their memories have gone when it comes to Bielsa, and they just say, oh no, it's still the same players. I know people say this isn't a fair comparison, but I look at Newcastle, I look at Eddie Howe, what he's done with Joel Linton, with Miguel Almiron and Fabian Schär, all bought before that money came in, and they all look totally different players. So anyone that says that a new manager won't be able to improve things because it's the same rubbish players, I think's wrong. Rocco, I don't believe the squad is actually that bad. I think it's a decent squad, personally.
The squad's better than what it was last year.
Yeah, I agree.
Man for man.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. Rocco, what do you think to that? Or for them fans that say, oh, well, it's just the same players, so, Marsch isn't the problem whatsoever.
Yeah, I mean, I can see where they're coming from, to be fair.
Really?
I don't have a lot of confidence in them at the moment. I think their confidence is so brittle from last season, scraping survival as they did and then losing, the two best players. I think that's going to play on their minds quite heavily. So you got people fair enough, they played 2 years in the Premier League, but I don't think they'll feel like proven Premier League players. And I don't really think they are. People like Koch, Llorente. Koch's doing well. He's had a decent season, but I'm just not completely sure that he's, a top Premier League defender. Cooper's starting to make more mistakes. I think the defence isn't... There's always a mistake in the defence. And, yeah, to that regard, I do sort of feel sorry for Marsch that he has had so many individual errors, but I do think it goes deeper than that and, more about the tactics with him. Yeah, I don't know. I think there's problems throughout the squad. I think we needed a proper overhaul in the summer, not just a mess around one, sell our two best players for peanuts and get what we could. I feel like it's, there's players like Llorente, Rodrigo. We should have just bit the bullet because they've not done it for us. Why did we think that it was going to be all right this season? How could Radrizzani say it was impossible to go down when the players that he has practically just went down?
I think apparently, according to Transfermarkt, Rodrigo's worth 10 million and Diego Llorente's worth 15 million, 14 million, which I don't think we get anywhere near that for them. But to be honest, I'd take between 15 and 20 million for the both of them and reinvest that into the squad. I think
they'll just let the contracts run down,
But I mean, Barcelona wanted Rodrigo at some point. Surely somebody in Spain will have him back. We can get rid of
please.
Yeah, but so I understand that I may be coming across as if I'm just defending Marsch no matter what in this, but I'm just trying to sort of play a bit of devil's advocate and just put the point across that he has been bad. Okay, so I'm not just defending him regardless. Some of the decisions he's made have been wrong. We've been through this, right? But if we bring somebody else in who is available, that I totally agree with what you're saying, Joe, about when Bielsa came in, players like Dallas, Ayling, the way that they improved over the time in the Championship and then when they came into the Premier League. I totally think that's possible, right? But I don't know of a manager out there now who is capable of doing that, if you know what I mean. It's not all managers are capable of doing that. A lot of managers come into clubs and they come in and they've got this is on the other end of the scale, but it's a sort of to make my point. Zidane, he's never gone to a lower league club and built them up. He's the only time he's ever managed, he's gone in with all the best players in the world and succeeded, which it's hard not to succeed like that. Do you know what I mean? So there's not many managers who are high caliber, come into a team at the bottom of a league or low down a league and build them up, and also that are available.
Well, listen, I'm not going to sit here and give you names. I don't know them, and I'm not paid to do that. You know, Orta is, and you know, other than Bielsa, and people have like, I'm quite a big supporter of Orta, but you know that support is slowly waning because Jesse's been Orta's man. And if you look at all the managers really under the tenure of Radrizzani, bar Bielsa, they've all been gash. Christensen started off well. Heckingbottom was just a nightmare. Bielsa went amazing, and now for me, Jesse's going the same way. So I don't even know if I have the trust in them to get the appointment right. Because, and what I will say, Max, we can't just trust me. And listen, click this up, whatever. If we keep him in charge, we will go down this season. We will go down under Jesse Marsch. I don't. That's just my opinion. I mean, I want you to convince me, or to convince me otherwise. Like, what is it you see that tells you we will get results? Because we've spoke about errors and whatnot, but tell me now what you've seen, and I'll ask you, Luke, this as well, where you look at it and go, oh yeah, now we'll get results.
I think the players have shown they can do it. We've seen that level of performance, and that we've shown that we can do it against top opposition. It's just the consistency. It just doesn't happen. It's almost, and I mentioned this earlier quietly, but I don't think anybody heard because I think there's somebody else was saying something. But the players almost look like they cannot carry the intensity for 90 minutes. It looks like we start off great most of the time, albeit there's been a couple of bloopers in there. There's been games where we've just not been at the races. But as a rule, we tend to start really, really well. And we look comfortable. We look confident. We look like we're in control of the game.
Yeah, Palace.
Yeah, we don't take our chances and we concede and we go behind.
Yeah,
you know, or we take a lead and we concede, like at the weekend, we concede within, 3 or 4 minutes. Your heads go back down. It's the quality we've seen is there. You look at the Chelsea game, you look at the Arsenal game, and they're top opposition, you know. But if you can't take that into games against teams around you that we should be beating and picking points up against, then why can't you do that? Is he motivating them wrong? Is he motivating them right for the big games? But actually, he's under motivating them for the lesser teams, shall we say?
Do you know what I say in response to that? Is because his one way of playing works against better opposition because they're not willing to go long. They're willing to pass out from the back and impose their style on us because they're a better team. They're better individuals. But ultimately, there's only 6 of them teams, for example.
But we match them at that, Joe. We match them at that.
100%, yeah, because they're willing to try and pass it out from the back and our counter press works. But the issue is all the other teams are fighting to stay in the division. So they'll look at Leeds United and say, do you know what? I know we normally play out from the back, but let's not do that because all we need to do is just hit it long, like Leicester did, and we'll be sound. And Jesse has no answer. That's what I don't understand.
Fair. That's fair. I mean, if he could put together a different plan and not be so one-dimensional, shall we say, if there was another plan to play against these teams that come and spoil your Villas, your Wolves, your Leicester, the other shite that teams that I can't be arsed with in the league. That honestly, I've been so many games this season. I've just absolutely fallen out of love with it because it's the Premier League's absolute dog shit at the minute. Like when you're playing these teams, it's just abysmal. And maybe he does need to look at that and maybe have be a little bit more flexible in his approach to these games because it's all good and well matching Arsenal and matching Chelsea and potentially being the better side, but they're not our battles.
No, exactly. And I'm sorry to have to do this again. My main man never lost to a team in the bottom 6. we always beat the teams around us, but do you know what I mean? It is what it is. But like Duncan says, with what Joe's saying, we've got 5 winnable games. Yeah, we've got City, we've got City, Newcastle, Spurs, Liverpool, and Bournemouth. So we'll probably lose to Bournemouth, but at least win the other 4. You'd imagine, you know what I mean? Based on that. Look, Rocco, does he see the end of the season for you?
No. To be honest, I think Radrizzani's mind's made up. I think they're looking for replacement now. I think even if we'd have won on Sunday, he'd have gone probably after Liverpool. I can't see how he stays now, and I think he knows it. I think we can see in his face and the way he talks. He's so demoralised. I just think he's waiting for the sack now. I can't see him lasting even till the World Cup.
Yeah. I agree with you. I don't think he sees the end of the season. The only way, I mean, the fact that he's still in charge now, I think they're going to go for a reset when the World Cup happens and try get a new manager in. It's like a mini pre-season. You've got, a nigh on month to get a manager in and get him working with the players. I have to agree with you on that respect. It's quite interesting if you remember that Radrizzani wanted to get rid of Bielsa after the Villa game, and it was those around him that kept him. So maybe, so you're probably right in terms of him already making a decision. And like Max said earlier, maybe they are waiting for someone who's an international manager, for example, who's going to wait till after the World Cup, and then they go and...
A lot of managers do go after... of managers become available, don't they, after international competitions because their team goes out in the group or whatever, and they either resign or quit. International manager turnover is quite high, isn't it? So, I mean... Like you look at Villa and they've just got Unai Emery, which obviously didn't do that well at Arsenal, but his Villarreal team, I mean, they beat Scum in the Europa League final, so I always like them for that. But he
played in that, didn't you remember him?
Yeah, Pedraza, yeah. But yeah, he set them up defensively, and they're just going to do the same thing as what they were doing under Gerrard when they came to us, and they just sat back and tried to soak up the pressure but so it's just.
Yeah, but
is that just how you have to play?
No. But what I would say in response to you can't tell me watching Jesse Ball that you're entertained.
No, I have been, but not enough. What? I have been against Arsenal. I have been like I said this on the midweek fix the other week about the start of that Palace game. That is what I love to see. Like the first 25 minutes, forget the rest of the game. When we came flying out the blocks, Guaita's absolutely cacking his pants every time someone passes it back to him. He's making mistakes. And I'm like, this is getting me pumped because Tyler Adams is flying around, winning the ball. And it looked amazing. I was like, oh my God, we're going to absolutely batter them here. And obviously, but it went wrong. But I have had excitement in this system. So that's what made me a bit more willing to stick with him, because I want to see that work over 90 minutes consistently, but I don't think it will, but I would like to see him given until the World Cup, because at least then there are maybe some more better available managers out there. I like the guy. I feel like you were asking about whether he'll last the season. I don't think he will last the season. But if we got, and we won't, but if we got 6 points from Liverpool and Bournemouth, does your opinion change at all?
Mate, I'm not going to sit here and say I'm not fickle. Of course I am. I'm a football fan. Anyone that says they're not is talking rubbish. If results change, then you have to sit there and say, do you know what? I was wrong, right? I might not enjoy. This is the thing, right? Even when we do well, it doesn't matter how you play. You forgive poor performances because you're winning.
Yeah.
You're winning. Who cares? I don't care. If we're winning games...
Does that mean you'd have Dyche in then if we won a few games, would you?
No, in response to that though, bro, like I couldn't watch that over the course of a season. Do you know what I mean?
I completely agree. Yeah.
It's like when everyone goes mad at Southgate, right? For me, it's perfect for tournament football. It's only for a month. I don't mind it. Do you know what I mean? It is what it is. Could I watch it season in, season out? No. Because you're going to lose more than you win, and it's going to be minging, right? The odd time you win, you're buzzing. But this is what I'm saying. I would argue I enjoyed, this might sound mental, by the way, I enjoyed getting beat 6-0 by Liverpool more than I did watching us play that second half against Palace. Because at least we had a go. At least we tried to score goals and took players on, and it was end-to-end. And you know what's really frustrating as well, Luke? Jesse came into this football club, and to be fair, let's be fair. Sometimes he threw some little daggers towards Bielsa. Oh, they were too overworked. Oh, they were this. Now, like Max has said, and someone said it in the comments earlier, they look unfit. They look unfit, like they can't last this style out for a full 90 minutes, whereas under Bielsa, they just ran themselves into the ground for 95 minutes. Now they don't look like they can do it for longer than half an hour.
Yeah. No, look, I'm with you. I mean I think that the level of performance is what swayed me. As you said at the start of the show, I've been nothing but supportive and positive and optimistic of everything. We've seen twinkles, but as Max rightly said, we haven't seen enough. Yeah,
no, definitely not. Does he see the end of the season for you, Luke?
God, I don't think so. No, I think that barring a miracle over these next few games, which would save him for the World Cup. I mean, if we have a miracle run against these sides coming up and pick up, I don't know, nine from a possible 15 or so, then or even 7 or 8 from 15, then no, I think Rocco's quite right. I think the feelers are already out for a replacement.
Yeah. Definitely.
I think that's the thing with Leeds. I don't think we're the type of club now with this board to sack a manager and put Mark Jackson in charge for 3 or 4 games until they find a replacement. I feel like I think it was Spurs, wasn't it, when they sacked Mourinho? They were like, it was like the next day that they had the new manager sorted out and tweeted and all that sort of stuff. So I don't know. I feel like when your board's a little bit more in control of things, they know exactly who they want and they set it up before they sack the manager, because realistically there's no point sacking Jesse to then send Mark Jackson to the slaughterhouse at Liverpool. Do you know what I mean? Like, I feel like we're just going to get, even if they're saving that new manager bounce for a game like Bournemouth, like if they were to sack him after the Liverpool game, people might go, oh, well, why have they done that? He was obviously never going to win against Liverpool. But you know what I mean? That new manager bounce can be a real thing. Because Villa won 4-0, didn't they?
Yeah. They did. They won. And do you know what I found quite telling as well? Like, Jesse looks defeated in himself anyway. But it's the fact that in the space between the game ending and him doing an interview, he'd said he'd already spoken to the board. So it's like he knows as well. Like, I don't understand that situation. It's like he got on the blower to them or spoke to them and said, look, am I still the man or whatever? I don't know. So it's like he knows himself, because he went straight on to 5 Live, I think it was, and said, yeah, I've already spoken to them, was sound, which I find mad anyway. Yeah, straight away. So it's like he's gone, I don't know.
I hope again, that sorry, go on, mate.
Go on, you go first. It was slightly separate.
Sorry, that sort of almost reiterates that there's more than just Radrizzani having a say in this, doesn't it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think the American owners were there as well, weren't they, at the Fulham game?
They were.
So there'll have been discussions going on. I was just going to say, I hope if Marsch does get the sack, because I actually quite like him and I like his philosophy, even if it's not been implemented to what he would have liked it to be. I hope he goes away and I hope he thinks, right, well, because obviously he said before he's a student of the game. He's been an assistant to loads of different coaches. He's tried to learn and apply his trade and come up with his own style and stuff. And it worked all the time in the Austrian league. And that's because he had all the best players. But I feel like what I hope he learns from this experience is that you can't just expect to win games when you haven't got all the best players, because you need to figure out plans B and C if something's going wrong in the game. Like, it's all well and good starting in that way, but like we said, an opposition manager changes something, he's never got an answer for it. So I like the guy. I hope he gets another job where he's learned from this and he actually knows, right, hold on a second, they've changed something here and I know how to change that now. Or even if it's his assistant, he needs to get a better assistant or whatever, because something's going wrong, isn't it, with his not having a plan B, not having any idea what to do when the flow of the game changes.
Yeah. Yes. Rocker, any final words, mate?
Yes, definitely. Sack the board.
That's a good show.
They cannot... Rota, especially for me, can't get away with this. You know, this is his plan for Leeds United. Even while we had Bielsa, if Bielsa had kept delivering and finished, 14th or whatever, it has still had, Marsch in. And for me, it's just there's no credit left in the bank. Bielsa was just a freak occurrence, really, and all the other decisions that he's made and the board, for me, I just think they're clueless. starting from the badge, you know, and the mind map. Yeah, the list is endless. So I'm just
Gandhi quotes.
Yeah.
Even the Bielsa thing, you can't fully give Orta the credit for it, can you? Because what had happened at his previous clubs where he'd fallen out with people and it was a big risk. I mean, it paid off massively, and he's now like an icon of the club. But do you know what I mean? Orta was trying to do another thing that makes him look good. You know, and he signs Firpo. Oh, because he's from Barcelona, so he'll be dead good. Rodrigo, he's played Champions League, plays for Valencia, so he must be good. And I call them his ego signings. The signings that he makes to stroke his ego to make people go, oh, bloody hell, Leeds have signed a Spain international and all this sort of thing. And he's gone for Marcelo Bielsa because he had this reputation, but it was a massive, massive risk. And obviously it did pay off. But when you actually look at the percentage of his risks, Orta's risks, that have paid off to the ones that actually haven't, Bielsa's only the real biggest success that he's had other than Rafinha, which obviously...
Come on, let's not rewrite history. It was a fucking amazing success.
Yeah.
I think he deserves a lot of credit for bringing Bielsa to this football club.
Yeah, but it's... Do you know what I mean? It's the same sort of ego thing that he's got. I think he tries to bring in these players and the managers and stuff like Christensen. He was managing the Cypriot League, and he thought, oh, if I pluck this guy out of obscurity and he's class, I'll look brilliant. I don't know if I'm being too harsh on him, but I just feel some of the signings that he's made and stuff make you think that he might be a little bit tickled by his own ego at times.
Yeah, fair. Luke, any final words, mate? Win against Liverpool and you're bouncing again?
Well, I won't be bouncing, mate. I'm still recovering from this knee injury, but yeah, I think this. So it's something you just got to give me. I think we've got, as we said, we've got a stronger squad than last season on paper. We've had a relatively fit squad in comparison. We've had a relatively favourable run of games in comparison to when Bielsa lost his job. Yeah, that's why the question marks are there for me, mate. But look, barring an absolute miracle, yeah, I'm quietly confident we'll probably see a new manager before the end of the year.
Yeah, Max.
Yeah, I do think it's the World Cup thing's probably the best point that we've made on this, is that that's probably what they're looking for, managers to come in and almost have a new little mini pre-season. Not all of our players will be going to the World Cup, so they'll have time with the team and stuff. And although obviously I said at the start, Marsch in, it was a bit tongue-in-cheek in that Marsch in for the next couple of games. And do you know what I mean? For the next 3 or 4 games, until such a time where we can get someone who does make it work, and who does have a good impact. So as much as I like the guy, I just don't think he's what I said before about.
You could say after this conversation, you've seen the light and realised and said, you know what, I'm Marsch out.
Well, if somebody had to have a difference of opinion, didn't they? Otherwise,
no, I like that you did that, actually, mate. I do like that you did that. Now, before we do go, folks, there's 520 people watching. What I want you to do is like the video. Also, what I have done is put the links to each of these fine gentlemen's content, okay? So Rocker at Leeds the link is in the description. You've got Max at Leeds Latey and Adam at Ought to Know Better podcast. All the links are in the description, right? So make sure you check them out. Please go on over YouTube, subscribe, leave reviews, all that sort of stuff. They're all a great listen, each and every one of them. 3 against 4, beware the ideas of Marsch, yes. Before we go as well, I just want to, I've got so many of you here as well. A Leeds fan sent me this earlier on. He's raising money for Becky's cancer treatment. They're looking for a £3,000 goal. They've got £1,370 raised currently. Basically, Becky gave birth to 2 beautiful babies, 2 twins, I believe. And unfortunately has been diagnosed with a brain tumour and is hoping to have it removed. So they are trying to, raise money for that. So if you could go on over, show some love, please do. And listen, I hope it works out for Becky and a young family. So please do help out if you can. And my final thoughts on this whole video and Jesse is basically this, folks. It's time to go!
I don't think I do it.
Arsenal started like house on fire.
We do it.
Signing number 2 for this new